So we had to evacuate a fire the other night. And I'm starting to get a little bit paranoid that everywhere I go, there is something crazy is going to happen. I don't know if I'm bad luck, or I know I sound totally narcissistic right now, but y'all know I witnessed a drowning in Greece on family vacation, like literally whatever, which really shook me up because that's not my first drowning. And a lot of y'all know that I worked in as a whitewater raft guide, and I have my swiftwater rescue and my wilderness first responder, and so like it's not unusual for me to be around like crazy situations. But that's because it was part of my job. But in my life, I tend to end up in really crazy situations. So I want to talk about what happened the other night with the fire, because I'm still kind of processing it and I'm still judging myself a lot for it. And also one of my friends slash moderator slash fellow creator on here, she was actually on one of my lives, Leslie Witherspoon. She actually encouraged me to talk more about like kind of processing or what it's like to deal with watching something traumatic, even if you weren't a part of it. Because I don't really think we talk about that enough. It's like, oh, poor you had to watch a drowning. Think of the fam. Like, that's how I judge myself. I'm like, I feel like I'm not allowed to have feelings about big things that happen if I'm not directly involved in it. You know what I mean? I think part of that is also my job. Being somebody who was involved in like crazy accidents and always having to like have a level head and be like action oriented instead of feelings oriented. And it's not unusual for people with a lot of trauma and like childhood trauma, especially, who can really easily disassociate, to go into fields where they're dealing with crisis constantly and they're able to stay really calm. The problem is if you don't ever acknowledge that those things are hard to be around and watch and like let yourself feel those things, or like just get it out of your body. You carry that stuff around. I don't know. I've never been a doctor or a nurse, but I have been around enough crazy situations that I did not let myself actually fully process or even think about or feel anything about it. And it bit me in the butt later on. So let me just show you what literally just happened right behind me. I have no idea what's happening. Nobody knows what's happening, but they literally cleared the beach. There's a whole area of the beach that was cleared. They had cops, they had lifeguard trucks, and then this thing was parked for a while. They swooped in, got sand everywhere. I don't know what was happening, and then it swooped off. Now, I'm pretty sure that person's alive, or they would not have sent a helicopter. If there's one thing that I've learned from just knowing enough people who work in like search and rescue and stuff like that, and also my own experiences with like drownings and stuff, they do not send a helicopter unless they think that there's a chance that person's going to live. Do you know what I mean? A helicopter is like a very dangerous thing to land on a beach full of people. I mean, whatever, they cleared it off, but like it's very dramatic. If there's somebody who is like gone, I'm guessing, maybe I'm wrong, someone correct me if I'm wrong, they probably would have sent we're not in the middle of nowhere, you know what I mean? Like they would have sent an ambulance instead. So my guess is that there was like a serious injury. I don't know. I'm guessing it's not a drowning, but I'm not sure. But it seems like whatever it was. There was also a restaurant right back there. I don't know if you could see, but maybe it was, it could have been a heart attack. Who knows? It could have been anything, really. So anyway, so that just happened. But again, I have some hope because I don't think they would have sent a chopper if that person had already passed or was like really not likely to. I don't know. Again, if there's any nurses or doctors or helicopter pilots that follow me, please chime in. So what happened the other night, so we were at the beach, and I don't know, it was around like 6 o'clock or something, and Anthony had just arrived, and I looked over. Okay, so I was on the beach, and I saw these planes kept circling right above where we stay, and I was like, what is happening? And I also saw the smoke. So I rushed back, and I'm like, there's smoke right behind the house and this plane. And then another one, mind you, people are just walking their dogs. Like, look at this. Then there's this, literally dropping buckets from a helicopter. Now, this was all right behind, like, helicopter after helicopter after helicopter, dumping big old buckets or whatever that is, or I don't even know what they're dumping, but something to put the fire out. And then this, like, anyway, it was intense. Now, a couple things. One, I dated a firefighter. He was like a firefighter, like he's a wildlife firefighter during the summer, and he was like a normal one or whatever during the rest of the year, and this was in Taos. So I don't know. I learned a lot about fires from him. Also, I used to teach outdoor education, right? So I know a lot about rivers because I worked on a river, but also because I would teach environmental education to kids and teenagers. I taught about deserts. I taught about rivers and a little bit about the ocean, but not much because my programs were not marine based mostly. So I still feel really ignorant when it comes to oceans. I know they got currents, and anytime there's a current, there's danger. Anytime there's water, there's danger. But anyway, if there's one thing I learned from living in California long enough and living in New Mexico, but especially those two states, but all over the West, is that fire is dangerous. It's more dangerous than we think. It spreads faster than we think. There's a lot of factors at play, like wind, how dry everything is. But I literally learned about fires in order to teach kids about fires. If there's one thing I know, you don't want to be near one, because all it takes is it was a very windy day when this was happening. But it's not just the fire itself I was afraid of. It was more of, if you've seen any movie where there's a disaster, if you've ever seen any footage of hurricanes or anything, whenever there's something big happening and people need to evacuate, that's a really scary time, because a lot of people are trying to get away from something coming, and they're all trying to get it away at the same time. Now, as I've mentioned before, one of the reasons why I'm not doing many videos right now is because I don't have a signal. So I have to go to this one spot on the side of the road 20 minutes away to upload a video. And because there's a signal, we didn't have cell phone service at our place. We couldn't find out any information. I'm like, what if they want to evacuate us? Are they literally going to come door to door, or drive by with a truck and be like, blah, get out, whatever? So not having service, the network is overloaded here because half the country of France is down in this region, right? So there's no cell phone service. There's the language barrier. All these people are looking at it. Some people are sending the little drone over there to see what's happening. I rode my bike closer to it at one point in time to see how close it was, so I could personally assess how dangerous I thought it was going to be for us, possibly. But it was just I went into my shame spiral of I can't even ask in French what's happening to the neighbors, and if they say, then I'm not going to understand them, and I'm just going to get more frustrated. So not being able to access news or literally anything to find out what's happening other than what I'm seeing with my eyes. But more importantly, it's not just the danger itself. Anyone who works in any kind of dangerous thing, especially natural disaster or weather related or just something involving the element, you know that there's the thing itself, and then there's how to get away from the thing, or how to treat the thing. If it's one thing if you get injured in the wilderness, but the reason why they have wilderness first responders is because we were trained to do lots of things in the backcountry that if you're 2 hours away from definitive care, because it's and that's why Greece was so not frustrating, but Greece is something that a lot of people don't consider. When you're on an island in the middle of the Mediterranean, if something happens to you, you are much more likely to not survive it, because they gotta airlift you. You know what I mean? So just the more remote you are, the more danger there is, period. Not just in the wilderness, but just in general. The more you are farther you away from definitive care. But also another element of danger is just all the people. So I'm sitting here, so part of me goes into I immediately was in heightened wilderness first responder mode and guide mode. And I'm just okay, all these people, nobody's freaked out by this. People are looking at it and watching it, but no one's really doing anything. And I find that a little alarming, because that fire is way too close for comfort. And all it takes is the wind to shift a little bit, and this thing's going to move fast. And if they evacuate, does that mean all of us evacuate at the exact same time? Because when they had a Queen concert just the other night, there was an hour of traffic for people to leave the Queen concert. I think of people the traffic here is crazy. If anybody's ever gone to any tourist place, the traffic at tourist places is so annoying. Now imagine that, plus literally everybody trying to move at the same time to get away from something dangerous because they're in a panic. So to me, I was I do not want to be stuck in this neighborhood right next to this fire and have to leave and literally can't because of traffic, because everyone's leaving at the same time. I was let's pack our stuff. because I didn't know for sure if we were going to leave, but I at least wanted our stuff ready to go. Now, I'm not taking everything because, I mean, I have like a month's worth of stuff here. Because if anybody's been following me, first we went on our little wedding anniversary trip to Annecy, and then we went straight to Anthony's village for a couple weeks to like take care of the dog and like the chickens and stuff. And then we came here, and we're here I think for a couple weeks. So I have a month's worth of stuff here, and I'm like, I'm not taking all this stuff. So what, in a fire, what would you take? Well, apparently I took my golden microphone, my vibrator. I'm very proud of myself for that. And I took my favorite dresses and like just, and all the stuff like my contact lenses, my glasses, like all that stuff, right? And of course I took a lot of stuff I really didn't need, but it's like that. I've never actually been in that situation where I was like, if you had a fire and you had to take your most important things, but well, now I know. Golden microphone and a vibrator. Anyway, so all that stuff is like whatever, not that big of a deal, like just dealing with a possible crisis. The hardest part for me was the fact that nobody was worried. That was a really, really hard part for me. But also like part of that is like French culture. They're very chill here, and I like that about this place, but sometimes I'm like, I wish y'all were not so chill about certain things. Now they're not when it comes to protesting and stuff, but like I find that like that panicky like thing, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But for instance, on New Year's Eve, my first New Year's Eve here, I went to a party at this giant house in Marseille. That is a crazy story. I gotta tell you all this story. Whew. Anyway, but the least craziest part of that night was the house got on fire. Literally, like house caught on fire. There was smoke. People were just taking their time leaving. They're just like smoking cigarettes, leaving, drunk, just still enjoying their evening as the literal house was on fire. I was like, I have never seen people evacuate so chill from something they could die from in my life. Not like the fire itself, but the smoke, right? But whatever, they put it out and they kept partying. Now, I know I'm making a huge generalization based on 2 incidences, just saying. So the fact that nobody was worried about it, the fact that I was like, we got to get out of here. And so we did get out of there. And then after we packed our car, people were looking at us like, why are they packing their car? But I was like, I don't care what people think, we got to get out of here. Oh my God, look at these floats. These are like pieces of wood. Anyway, it just really fed into my like, I'm a foreigner here. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. I'm a dramatic American. I'm a dramatic Melanie. You know, I always feel like I'm too much paranoid. And I am too much sometimes. And I am a little paranoid because I've seen so much tragedy in my life. I'm like, I feel like my 9 lives have been, my 19 lives that I've had have been used up, and now I'm like a little overcautious, but whatever. I feel like I have kind of earned the right to be overcautious when I look back on how many times I coulda, shoulda, maybe died and I didn't. And so, I don't know, it was really just feeling crazy. That was the hardest part. Now, luckily, Anthony trusts my intuition on stuff like that. He knows that I was a guide. He knows that I, you know, and we were talking about this later on. He doesn't know anything about fires, you know. I used to educate people on fires, and I lived in, you know, and I mean, right before I left LA, the hill right behind where I lived caught on fire. And I remember being like, I was like, please don't let that take our house, you know? Like, I've been in so many situations where I'm like afraid of fires in theory, but even in reality. I do not mess with fire the same way I do not mess with water anymore. People grossly underestimate water. And also, I'm sitting here thinking of Hawaii and how those people in their people literally jumping in the ocean to escape how fast that thing moved. Or in California, when those big fires several years ago, people died in their pools in their backyard because the thing moved so fast. And I think because some of them couldn't escape, so they just had to ride it out. And you know, so to me, it's like, I want to get out of this place, and I want to get out. I don't want to be stuck here with other people panicking, trying to get out fast. And then at least one of the neighbors packed up and they left too. So then we like went outside of town where we could find on the side of the road the one place I have service where I can upload anything, where I'll probably be uploading this later. And couldn't find anything on the news, like a little bit on the news, but nothing was really current. No, it's just frustrating not to have access to information, me feeling crazy for making us pack all this stuff we're going to have to unpack later. And then me also being like, are we going to go back there? Is everything ruined? Like, whatever. So then we ended up hanging out at a snack shop on the side of the road. I ordered like the nastiest pizza I think I've ever had. Anthony had a hamburger. And as we were sitting there, I was like mad at him because I was feeling a lot of feelings and I didn't know why. And I was like just frustrated that I felt like I was the only one panicked. The thing is though, I was panicked because of based on my experiences. No one else was panicked because most of these people don't live here. Most of these people don't live in deserts. This is like a desert area. So why would anybody who doesn't know about fire, who doesn't understand desert fires especially, be panicked like me? Oh, here's that guy. Hold on. That guy. He's always like, every year he does this. Anyway, sorry, there's so many distractions here. And so I realize every time I'm like mad at Anthony, it's usually something else going on. And then I was like, what is like, so he went to go like order the food. It took me forever to decide what I want. At a certain point, he was like, what do you need? And I was like, I just need to not lead right now. Like, what you decide where we eat, what we do, because I'm like, I've hit my capacity and I'm like, basically I need to feel some stuff. So I did, and I just started crying. And I was like, why are you crying, little baby? You know what I mean? Like that voice that's like, me, 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 me. And then I remembered, oh, right, because, you know, like, first thing I thought it was a steam pipe explosion. Hold on. Okay. I was like, please don't let that be another crisis. Okay, there's lost children that need to report to the lifeguard place. Anyway, so I just like let myself cry because I was like, oh, is this like Grease where like watching a drowning also made me process the drownings that I was a part of that I never processed? And I'm like, is that what this, I mean, obviously that's not why that happened, but I feel like I'm having these like opportunities for me to like face some of the stuff that I went through but never really dealt with. And one of them was that steam pipe explosion. I've told that story before about how that steam pipe explosion really helped me understand PTSD for the first time in my life. But I didn't really process that. Like running for my life, thinking that a building was exploded. It was a steam pipe, but like that whole story, I don't know if I'll remember to include the link in this, but I'll try to. That whole story is nuts, and it was scary. And yeah, we were all running for our life because we had no idea what had just happened. And then I saw that man, his like face burned off, you know, and I was like, yeah, I didn't really ever cry about that or deal with that. And I was like, I felt like I was like dealing with that. I don't know, and my nervous system was all messed up, and I was just like it's really a scary experience packing a bag, being like, this is it, of all the stuff that I may not, you know, I mean, I don't know, it was intense. But the problem is it wasn't even the feelings itself, it was my refusal to feel them and my judgment of having them. And that's usually my problem with everything, right? My resistance to feeling feelings makes them worse, and I usually end up lashing out at someone else. And my judgment of having them, like I was literally like, what are you in about? It's probably not even a fire. Probably nothing happened. And the thing is, they did put it out. They did contain it eventually. And I think some homes were lost, but not ones right next to us. I don't know, like, but I was like, when we came back that night, I was so embarrassed. Like I did something wrong, even though I actually, in my heart and in my mind, I know I did the right thing because I needed to get out of there because I knew what could happen. And just because everyone else didn't really understand what could happen because they haven't been in enough emergency situations, or maybe they have, but maybe not this particular type of one, doesn't mean that I was wrong. But like the way my brain will go to like othering myself, like there's something wrong with me. These people are all, I mean, I literally, when we pulled up, I was like, look at the judge. The neighbors are probably judging. They probably weren't even thinking about me. They're probably like, oh, I wonder where they went. Or like, they probably weren't even thinking, you know what I mean? Like, I project so much stuff. And even like, I had like called my mentor that night, and I was like, crying to her. And then I was like, she probably thinks I'm so dramatic. Melanie, her stupid little crisis all the time. You know, her just crying. Like, and I'm like, and I know this person well. There's a reason why, like, she's one of my mentors. She would not think that. But so the way that, like, when I'm resisting feeling something, everyone around me pays a price if I don't feel it. Just let myself feel it. You know, I have been thinking my way through emotions my entire life. But this whole, like, I don't know if it's somatic, whatever you call it, like, actually feeling them, actually crying, actually sitting in your body instead of staying above the neck. It is a game changer, and it's actually quite healing, and it feels good to cry, but I will literally do anything to resist it. So I have been getting better at that, and actually my best friend Liz told me that she's noticed a big change in me, that in the past, that like anytime I was going through something hard, including the domestic violence thing, I could talk about it pretty easily. I mean, I'm a storyteller, comedian. I can talk about the trauma pretty easily, but I don't feel it. And now I actually feel the stuff, which also makes it harder. You know, it's harder to feel stuff, but it's so rewarding. And she was like, look, I really, like, you used to just not feel stuff. You talk about it. You talk about the feelings, but you wouldn't actually feel the feelings. And now I think everything that's happened to you, especially in the last several years, everything that comes at you, you literally take the time to let yourself feel it. And that is what's going to prevent, like, PTSD stuff happening, because that's usually what happens is there's the trauma itself, but like the PTSD is how we're like react to the trauma or whatever. That's my understanding. I don't know. I'm probably not quoting her correctly, but anyway, she was saying like, look, I think you actually will be moved through this faster and not, it won't. Can you hear him? And anyway, it's sometimes I need that like perspective, because yeah, I've gone through a lot of like crazy situations in my life because of just my family or just weird, you know, my sister calls it like the Hamlet curse. Like her and I both end up in the craziest situations. We're like, why? And not the Hamlet curse, like, oh, poor us, but just like, I don't know, we tend to attract really crazy people and just happen to be in the weirdest places all the time, like the steam pipe explosion. But also like the first week I moved to New York, I was walking down the sidewalk, and right after I heard this loud noise behind me. Right behind me, a metal beam fell from the top of the building where they were doing construction. And it never occurred to me until, and then I was like, oh, wow, I barely missed that. And then all of a sudden, all these policemen came over and they like taped it off, and they were like, stay away, stay away. And I was like, oh, right, like that could have killed me. I was like, oh. Like y'all haven't even heard all my stories. People are like, how are you still alive? I don't know. And again, part of this is because I was reckless and I put myself in situations, and other times I just like end up around things. I don't know. Maybe it's just like goes with being a storyteller. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm glad that I like let myself cry at a snack bar on the side of the road for 20 minutes, because then I was able to move on a little faster. Instead of the old way of just doing everything where I'm like, no, it's fine. You know, I'm thinking about it. That was scary, but I'm not feeling the fear. I'm just talking about it. But feeling the feelings and talking about the feelings are not the same. Anyway, I also, you know, Anthony reminded me that the reason why I felt like pretty alone in my fear is because, again, like, I don't know, like, there's a lot of phenomenon that happens in the U.S., and it's also a huge country, right? But like tornadoes aren't really a thing over here. Do you know how many times I have hidden in my basement with my mom and my sister and Fifi Marie Hamlet, our little toy poodle, and mattresses in the basement, waiting, you know, like tornado warnings, you know, and when I lived in New York, 2 hurricanes. Like once when I visited with Anthony, and once when I lived there, and literally like the lower half of Manhattan was like without power. You know, like I thought like hurricanes were like a Florida, like East Coast, like southern, whatever. Nope. And then in California, I was always like, oh, I don't have an earthquake kit. What goes in that? You know? And then the fire. And it's like, you know, like there's all the, like, there's like some sort of like nature threats almost every part of the U.S. Whereas here, it's mostly like flood and fires happens mostly in southern France. But anyway, he was also reminding me that he really didn't understand fires or the threat of fires because he never really had to deal with it. And that probably most people that are around us, they don't live here. They're just visiting here. And so it's not that I'm like being dramatic. It's just I have more information, which is also why I'm always more scared around water, especially swift water, because people underestimate the power of water. But so did I, until I literally worked on it and took courses on it and how to survive it, and was put in a strainer in swiftwater rescue training. So anyway, all this to say, I'm really trying to take some time off and like embrace not having a cell phone connection. and just chilled. Like 2 out of the 4 days we've been here, I'm like running from a fire and now like a helicopter. Anyway, let's just hope that, I don't know, I know that I am the drama a lot of times, but also the drama finds me. And maybe that's okay, but I'm trying to learn better ways to deal with crisis situations and not judge myself. I mean, clearly I'm going to judge myself. That's never going to end. But like, not judge myself to the point where I don't let myself feel things. And I think that we minimize the impact that trauma has on the people who watched it. You know, just I talk about how domestic violence, like the people who love the person in that relationship have like secondary trauma, and yet they're afraid. They don't really get to talk about it much because they're like, well, I'm not the victim though. But yeah, but you went through it with them, watched them. Just as like, there's literally 12-step programs and group therapy for people who are survivors of like suicide and of, you know, addiction, because the family members who were there watching someone go through something so scary, and like there's pain there. And so, yeah, like Leslie was saying, is that, yeah, I think maybe we should talk more about how to process watching crazy things, being a witness to it, even if you literally don't know that person. I don't know. I feel like it's weird to talk about it because, oh, I watched someone drown. Yeah, but like, I don't know about y'all, but I have like invasive memories where like I see again and again. I will never forget that scream of that woman whose mother died right in front of us of drowning when she found out. I will never unhear that, unsee that whole scene. I'll never I think back of that in the Greece drowning all the time. Like I think about these, they're it's like they're imprinted on my brain, and I don't know. I think that's like kind of hard, and that, you know, like I shouldn't judge myself for like not getting over that easily. I don't know. Anyway, let me know if you have any thoughts on this. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences, because when I talked about the drowning in Greece, a lot of people had a lot to say about how they had witnessed some crazy things and how they had never got over it. So I don't know. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. I hope you see this before like 2 weeks from now. But thank you for your patience, and thank you for supporting my work, and especially people over on Patreon, the paid members, but even the non-paid members. That always helps me feel appreciated and loved, because you like keeping up with my work. But not everyone's on that app too, and I understand not wanting to join that. But if you do want to make sure you see my work and get notified when it is released, either set notifications or join me on Patreon. I have lots of stories to tell, but I just don't have a signal to upload them, so there will be stuff, but I don't know when. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this, and et voila. This is the comment song, Coney Looking Island edition. This is the comment song where I'm showing you stuff near where I'm at. This is the comment song. Lots of circus and arcade stuff. I feel like I'm in the 80s again at the fair. Hold on, look, they even have the duckies. Is that a thing in the U.S. still? Does they have it here? I feel like everything was bought from the U.S. 20 years ago. They also had some dancers performing comic songs. Sorry, this is a terrible song. I'm just blah, 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 blah. So you can type a comment. Let me know how you feel about what I talked about. It's got nothing to do with this. I'm not even singing a song. It's all over the place. The comment. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, lots of anyway, okay. Comment song is ending soon. Et voila. 3, 2, 1. Thanks for watching. Bye. Let me know if you saw the comment song.